Hey kids, another video from Beauthemechanic. Today's video, how do you cage air brakes? Most of you probably don't even know what air brakes are, okay? Heavy trucks use what's called air brakes. Instead of using hydraulic fluid like a car does, brake fluid, brake fluid is hydraulic fluid, it's just a liquid. The normal cars, passenger cars and even medium duty trucks use brake fluid. The brake fluid has a master cylinder, and the master cylinder compresses when you press your foot. It compresses the fluid, and it pushes this compressed liquid fluid to the front calipers, the back calipers, or maybe your back drum cylinders, whatever, master cylinder, wheel cylinder, whatever you want to call it. And it expands or compresses your brake pad. Air brake systems are a little bit different. Air brake systems use air. Obviously, the truck is running. It's usually got a big diesel engine. The big diesel engine is, creating compressed air. It's got a compressor on the side of it. Let me show you maybe. Here, I got one right over here. There's one of them right there. This is to actually be bolted to the side of your truck, the side of your engine, and that compressor would actually compress air. So, anyway, basically your truck is constantly creating its own air pressure. And so if you've ever driven an air truck, a truck with air brakes, you should probably have a CDL, but either way, if you don't, whatever. So you'll hop in the truck and you'll probably notice there's a gauge, and the gauge has 0 psi, 60 psi, 120 psi, whatever it had when the truck was turned on. You fire the truck on, turn it on, it starts making a bunch of noise and screaming at you until the gauge gets up to 120 or whatever it's preset to, and then it goes off. Well, how air brakes work is that you've got that air pressure, and the air will run in when you press your brake, the brake on the truck. The air will run to the front and to the back and to the back of the trailer, whatever you're pulling. And it's got actual air that goes into a big bladder and presses against a lever called an S-arm sometimes, or whatever you want to call it, and it actually engages and pushes this S-arm, the S-arm, into the actual drum. So air brakes actually are, all air brakes that I've ever seen, I think some new ones, but I think all air brakes that I've ever seen are actually, drum. They're drum in the front, drum in the back, drums everywhere. And they work really damn well, man. I mean, they've worked really well for years and years and years on semis. And but anyway, the point of the video today is not for me to show how little I really know about 18-wheeler drum design and air brake design, but to show you how to cage brakes. So I've got an F800 here, and I'm hauling it off to the scrap yard. I'm finally trying to clear up my lot and move into my new shop soon. And this F800 is so big it wouldn't even fit on my trailer, and nobody would come get the damn thing. So I called around, and I called a bunch of people, and I'm like, hey, come get this thing, just haul it off for me. And the thing weighs, 12,000 pounds or whatever, 14,000 pounds, and it's just a bear to move around, and it's got air brakes, you got to cage the brakes, and they're like, no thanks. So anyway, I ended up cutting the truck in half with a torch, and I hauled the front part off already, and now I'm going to haul the back part off, but the problem is you can't move something with air brakes if it doesn't have air. That air from the truck engine, once it hits 60, 70 psi, I think it's 60 psi. At 60 psi, there's not enough pressure to overwhelm the springs, so the truck default goes to lockdown. It's kind of like putting the emergency brake on in your car. So a heavy truck or an 18-wheeler has the emergency brake on all the time, unless it has 60 psi or more in the truck. So like I said, you turn the engine on, it takes a few minutes, and then finally your air system kicks up to 60, 60, and then 70, and 80, and 100, 120. And eventually you got 100 psi, and you can drive it fine. And every time you hit the brakes, you can kind of hear them whistling sometimes. If you've ever noticed the truck, it'll go, "Erts, erts," and you hear that, and that's the blow-off valve you're hearing is actually that compressor that I showed you. It's got a proportioning valve, not a proportioning valve, but a pressure release valve, and so it wants to keep 120, but it doesn't want to keep 150 or 170 psi, so it dumps all the excess every once in a while. So anyway, I'm going to show you guys how you cage a rear air brake, or you could do it on anything. So let me show you. Here we go. You can see what I'm doing here. I got the backhoe hooked to the front of it. You can't move it at all, obviously, because the brakes are locked up. So these big things won't even turn at all. They're completely locked down. So right now, this is your cylinder, your chamber. It is really dangerous. You don't want to take them apart. If you took this thing apart, there's a huge damn spring in there, and it's pressing that way really hard. So if you were to break these bolts free and try and take this apart, it would fucking shoot you in the face. It would probably hurt you really bad. So you don't want to do that. So you got to be really careful. So I looked online, I didn't see any damn videos about this, so here I am showing you a video. Okay, this right here is called the caging bolt, okay? All of these new air chambers come with one, for sure, on the cylinder itself somewhere. And there's one right there too in the bottom of that cylinder, you can see it. So I'm gonna have to take this caging bolt free. I've already loosened it up. So here's the caging bolt. I know the camera's shaking, sorry about that. There's your caging bolt, and it looks kind of crazy. It's like a weird T, and that's a 3/4 inch nut. All right, now if you look inside, I'm gonna try and show y'all. Can you guys see in there? Yeah, kinda, there's a T. It's a weird looking T inside that fitting, inside here. So what you're gonna do is you take the caging bolt, and you slide it in there, and you twist it. And now it won't come out. And then I throw my washer and my nut back in it, and thread it. And basically I'm just gonna tighten it down by hand with my 3/4 inch wrench. Just do it by hand, and you're gonna feel what's gonna happen is that S-arm, or that cam, which is back here, you're gonna pull it and it's gonna release all the tension on the drum itself, because right now they're totally expanded. And I'm gonna slowly pull on it, and it's gonna let them go free. And I'm gonna do it to both sides, and then I'm gonna be able to move this truck and roll it wherever I want and put it on a trailer. And this would help you, you know, if you're broken down the side of the road and you never really done anything like this, or if you own a company or whatever, for whatever reason, if you needed to move air brakes, that's how you do it. You know, because we don't have, you know, none of the tanks are even hooked up anymore. I cut the whole damn truck apart. So this is how you do it manually. Anyway, there you go.